The masks are coming off and their true agenda is revealed. And it's just what we thought. Well, Biden is at it again, and this time, he's just putting the whole plan out on the table for everyone to see. And there's no doubt now, they're coming for our guns. As if they were following a playbook, the current administration, along with many of the Democrat politicians, began crying for gun control before the police even had the scene secured in Uvalde, Texas. Chuck Schumer ran to the microphone to let everybody know he already had legislation ready to go. Interestingly enough, said he wasn't going to bring it up for a vote until after the midterms. It's almost like he's hoping to use it to motivate his base to come out and vote in November. Not that the legislation is the most important thing. Biden weighed in on Monday, saying he wants to ban high-caliber 9mm handguns, the most popular caliber, and says, so the idea that these high-caliber weapons, there's simply no rational basis for it in terms of self-protection, hunting, and remember, the Constitution, the Second Amendment, was never absolute. He also said at the time of the Revolution that no one owned cannons. Well, Joe, actually the Second Amendment is absolute. It's why the founders included it in the Constitution, making it a right, not a privilege, and specifically stated that the practice of this right shall not be infringed. Let's remember, Joe told people back in his administration with Obama that if they were worried about an intruder, they should just get a double-barrel shotgun, go out on the balcony and shoot it into the air. That should scare off any intruder. Hey, Joe, that's illegal. I can't believe we have to correct the President of the United States, the chief law enforcer of the country, on the law and the Constitution. But here we go. Gun control advocates spew the same mantra every time they have a chance. Here are their main points. 1. The Founding Fathers never anticipated we would have such advanced weapons. They were only referring to muskets, and people couldn't have cannons back then. Guns were only meant for hunting, and you don't need an AR-15 for that. The Second Amendment references a militia, which was obviously the National Guard. Therefore, the populace doesn't need guns. Well, a quick look at the facts shoots holes all through these arguments. Patriots began petitioning King George III in 1764 as the tensions of an oppressive government started to rise, starting with the Stamp Act and the birth of no taxation without representation. Letters were written and colonial delegates were sent to England to entice the king and the parliament to redress their grievances. This went on for 10 years, with a few sparks such as the Boston Tea Party, the Battle of Golden Hill, and the Boston Massacre. However, the fire didn't start until the Redcoats came for the Patriots' guns. When the British began their late-night march on April 18, 1775, they had two missions. 1, to find and arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock for treason. 2, to raid and destroy the city's armories in Lexington and Concord. The Patriots knew if the British successfully confiscated their firearms, they would be under the complete control of the king without any means of fighting back his tyrannical reign. It is then that the Patriots picked up their own weapons and began to fight for their independence. 2 days later, in Williamsburg, Virginia, Lord Dunmore ordered the confiscation of the city's public gunpowder supply. 15 barrels were secretly removed from the city's magazine on April 21st. When the founders composed the Second Amendment, they were not forming an insignificant right that had little meaning or weight. They knew that the only way for Americans to keep their independence was the same way that they won it, by having their own weapons to defend themselves from tyranny. When the war began, there was no Patriot Army, and there was no National Guard, and there definitely wasn't a budget for the weaponry and ammunition that was needed. Militias could be assembled, yet they were made up of ordinary citizens, not a trained, well-supplied force, who, by the way, used their own weapons and ammunition to fight the war, even after some supplies were obtained for the cause. Lastly, many of the founding fathers were extremely inventive people, such as Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson. At the time of the Revolutionary War, more sophisticated weaponry was already being produced. To think that the founders did not foresee more advanced armament in the future is just ignorant. It's the reason they said the right to keep and bear arms, and not just bear muskets. The term arms encompasses all weaponry, and the people have the right to keep them. Those in the National Guard do not take their weaponry home. And some of the colonists did have cannons, and they used them. In the late 1990s, the Australian government disarmed their people, and now the citizens are being carted off to COVID camps against their will for their own protection. They are being harassed and arrested for not complying with the government's orders. Canada is racing towards that goal as well, as Trudeau just banned the sale of all handguns. It seems to me, when the government is pushing for gun control, their true motives are not to save lives. What they are really aiming for is complete and utter control over you. But that's just my 2 cents. What do you think? Leave your comments down below. You can read more about the Second Amendment and other important historical events in my liberating letters on thefactspaper.com, along with finding access to more of my videos and links to hundreds of informative articles trying to combat fake news. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to see more videos when they are uploaded. Until next time.